Thanks. Really glad to be joining you on the eve of trade mission to China. But first, I'd like to just reflect on where we're at in the World Cup tournament here in Vancouver. I was at the game last night with the Prime Minister. It was a bit of a heartbreaker for Canada and for Canadian fans. But I'll say this, our team fought hard. They have their first World Cup victory under their belt. They are moving on from their group and incredibly proud of the work that the team has done and the support for Mr. Kone and his recovery. Inspiring stuff for Canadians. I think if there's one thing that I took away from the game is that the Canadian team never gave up. Right till the end, they fought, and that truly is, in my opinion, what it means to be Canadian. I also want to reflect on the remarkable piece that's come out of the World Cup is the international celebration that's taken place in different games. I saw our draw of the teams for our group here in Vancouver. I thought, we're just not going to see a lot of folks for a match like Egypt, and I have been so wrong in terms of that assessment. The Egyptian fans showed up in huge numbers. The celebration on the streets was an incredibly special moment for Vancouver and British Columbia. To see an international champion like Mr. Salah celebrating with fans, saying that he could see himself living in Vancouver and being a hero to so many people around the globe. Really special moment, and I'm so glad that it happened here. So I want to thank all of the volunteers, all the fans who've come out. I hope you're having a great time. By all reports, you are, and celebrating peacefully and joyfully in our city and in our province. Welcome, and I certainly hope that continues through the rest of the tournament. I'm very excited to be sharing that I'll be off to China on Saturday. This is part of government's continuing effort to double our non-U.S. exports within the next 10 years under our Look West strategy. We're seeking to reduce our reliance on the United States, and obviously Asian markets have been a major focus for us. This is my first visit to China as Premier. It's my first visit to China, period. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing the country and going there and meeting with business leaders there. There will be some specific areas of focus for us: agricultural products, forestry products, tourism, as well as energy. There are some very specific major decisions that are coming up in the energy sector, where China has a footprint here in British Columbia, specifically the LNG Canada Phase 2 project, which is reaching final investment decision in September. PetroChina is one of the major investors in that project. And so, among others, I'll be meeting with them and very much looking forward to engaging on this. Some news to share on this, though. The federal government has been engaging in negotiations with us in British Columbia on an MOU on major projects for our province. Those negotiations have been going well and progressing quite quickly. The federal government has asked me to be available in early July and for a potential announcement of a finalized MOU. So I will be, unfortunately, cutting my visit a bit short in China to be back for July 2nd. And hopeful that we'll be able to close off negotiations with the federal government and share some good news at that point. But it does necessitate shortening my visit briefly. The Prime Minister has offered kindly an invitation to join him in November in China as part of the Asia Pacific Economic Gathering. And if that is something that's able to work, we're sitting at that time, then it may be an opportunity for me to return. I am keen to hear your questions and look forward to reporting back on return from this trade engagement on advancing British Columbians' interests, particularly around ensuring high-paying jobs and opportunities in every corner of British Columbia. With that, I'll turn it over to Sachin.
Thank you, Premier, and thank you everyone for joining us here today at the Vancouver Cabinet Office. We're going to take questions from the media now. All members of the media called upon will have a question and one follow-up. And we'll start in the room first and then go to the phone line. For people on the phone line, please remember to press *1 to enter the queue and to unmute yourself when called upon. We're going to start here with Rob Buffum from CTV.
Oh, hi, Premier. Nice to see you. My first question is for a colleague. Basically, it's looking at, look, we're through to the round of 32. Everybody's been very excited by how well things have gone. But there's no doubt there's kind of a little, if not bigger disappointment that all this energy, we're not going to see Canada play when Vancouver hosts the round of 32 or round of 30 or round of 16. Was there not an opportunity when BC Place was being pegged to host this tournament to negotiate to have Canada play, if it advanced any of its games in Canada? Did your government neglect to do that? And I guess, how do you feel about it? Like, you must be disappointed. I mean, look at the energy. I know I have your point on the international celebration, but there's still no doubt that it would have been amazing if Canada was hosting its next game here on round of 32.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I understand the desire, Rob, because I share it. I would love to see Canada playing this game in Vancouver or even in Toronto instead of in LA. The realities of the tournament are such that I'll take you back to the beginning of the tournament, where our goal was to certainly score a goal and possibly even win a game. Our aspirations are higher now. And there was just no way to predict which direction Canada would be going in terms of the groups, who would be coming out of the other groups. And so that is all determined well in advance. There was a window that we were enabled that Canada could have stayed here had the game turned out the way that we wished yesterday. And I will credit the fact that that avenue was available, likely to FIFA's Vancouver connection, Victor Montagliano, who would love, I know, as much as I would, to see these games happen here in British Columbia. We had a window. The game didn't turn out how we hoped, but Canada's going to fight hard for us in LA, and we'll all be cheering. And I note that the watching sites across the province have been incredibly busy. More than 100,000 fans have been at the fan center out at PNE there, and so we'll be gathering to celebrate together and cheering for our team.
Yeah, by way of follow-up, kind of a two-parter. I wanted to get your thoughts on two things. One is this condo controversy. The Prime Minister this morning, I gather, said, look, this was BC's initiative. We're only paying 10% of the total cost. What do you say to critics like the Canadian Taxpayers Federation who say, hey, BC taxpayers are on the hook for 90% of this cost, and they're framing it, as others are, as a bailout to developers? And then my other question is, in relation to pipelines, there's protests across the country at MP's offices. Hetty Fry's got a protest at her office at noon. You know, July 1st is the deadline for this MOU for Alberta's pipeline. What are your thoughts on that going ahead? And I don't know if there's anything you can share with us, but you've seen the Prime Minister a lot recently. This MOU is coming up. Can you shed any light on what, if that's a project that has not been announced to the public at all before?
Yeah, we're focusing our conversations on BC projects, major infrastructure projects like the Massey Tunnel and federal participation in the North Coast Transmission Line. It's going to create economic opportunity across the province. We are not focusing on Alberta's projects. That's something that Alberta's MOU did. And so that's the nature of the conversations. I look forward to having more to share, hopefully in early July, around an agreement with the Prime Minister. Look, on this condo proposal, it's I mean, you know, the federal government was enthusiastic about us announcing this before all the details were out, but in the absence of the details, the plot has been lost a little bit here. So happy to share some of the information with you. If you are a condo developer that took a bet on the high end of the market, and you're facing significant potential loss of profits, what we are proposing will not assist you. The government of BC has been very clear, I've been very clear, that we are seeking to make housing more affordable for people, and that includes inevitable corrections in the market. What we see as an opportunity right now is the chance to buy products below the cost of construction, below the cost of what government can build them for, and make them available through a rent-to-own program for British Columbians. The numbers don't work in Vancouver, but they do work in places like the Fraser Valley, Vancouver Island, and the Okanagan. The federal government brought forward to us a proposal that looked a lot like Ontario's, which was the elimination of the GST on new homes. To put it bluntly, that just doesn't work in British Columbia. First of all, for first-time buyers, you don't pay the GST, you don't pay the PST. And so that would be a tax program exclusively for people buying a second home. And we're just not doing that. I understand that Ontario's circumstances are different. but that's why we don't support the proposal of the development industry. The goal here is to get people into homes, to give them the ability to get into the market when they might not otherwise be able to do so as a renter, and to do so below the cost of construction in areas outside of Vancouver. Look forward to having more to share about the program as we develop the details, but we think it has lots to recommend it over the proposal that was advanced in Ontario.
Next, we'll head to Tina House with APTN.
Hi, Premier. Nice to see you. So as of recent developments now, there's a Toronto mining company called MCC Canadian Gold Ventures that is now proposing to sue the BC government over the Gitga'ala decision, and this is regarding DRIPA. Do you feel that this is something you can comment on today?
No, I don't know what their claim would be, and I don't understand the background of it, so I'm not in a position to comment on a potential lawsuit. I guess we'll see when they file.
Okay. And DRIPA in general, can you give us any update as to your government's position on DRIPA right now?
Yeah, we're engaged in conversations with First Nations leadership. We have a mutually agreed deadline of the fall session around amendments. In addition, we're pursuing our appeal at the Supreme Court of Canada. Our materials are due in August for that. And so my hope is we're going to be able to reach agreement at the table.
Thank you, Tina. Next, we'll head to Graham Wood with Business in Vancouver.
Hi, Premier. Excuse me. Today, Mark Carney said that this idea for the condo conversions, condo purchases, was initiated from the BC government. Can you walk us through where that initiation came from? Who thought of this idea?
So the federal government had $300 million available. And the proposal on the table was what they had done with Ontario, which is to eliminate the GST on new homes. This is the preferred solution of the development industry. I just received a letter from the Urban Development Institute advocating for this. I also get letters from them advocating for the elimination of speculation and vacancy tax, the elimination of the Airbnb restrictions, the elimination of the foreign buyer tax, the elimination of foreign buyer restrictions. The development industry has its own perspective. The reason why we didn't pursue the GST exemption is it would be exclusively a benefit for people who were selling an existing home to move, or they were buying a home as an investment. We are trying hard to find ways to give people an opportunity to get into the market, to provide increased affordability. We see an opportunity around developers who made a bad bet in regions of the province that are in facing losses and will have to sell it below the cost of construction to potentially buy properties and make them available at more affordable rates for people who are renting without a down payment. This comes at no ultimate cost to taxpayers because the mortgage is an asset for taxpayers. I'm only going into detail because I know you're interested in these kinds of things, and provides the possibility for people who we really want to see a future in British Columbia, see a way that they could potentially own a home, their own home. And so we will be releasing details about the proposal coming forward. If people hate it, that's okay. We don't have to do it. But I actually think that ultimately we'll be buying below the cost of construction. No developers will be profiting from this. It'll give people an opportunity to buy a home that wouldn't otherwise have it. And it's cheaper than government could build new homes on our own. It is not the preferred solution of the development industry, but our focus is on supporting people on getting into affordable housing, including market housing.
Okay, thank you. So you're going to China. China will, or whoever, I don't know the itinerary yet, what officials who you'll be meeting with, but typically they will ask things of us and you will ask things of them, and tell me what you would like to see from their end of the table.
Sure. So from China's side, certainly we'll be interested in hearing from them where there are opportunities for growth in the trade relationship between China and Canada. We have a goal of doubling our exports to non-U.S. markets within the next 10 years. China will be part of that. We have a major investment decision coming up that PetroChina plays a significant role in around LNG in September. So we'll be engaging on that. We are going to be supportive of the recent decision around making it easier for tourists from China to visit British Columbia and Canada, and encourage more steps in that direction from the Chinese government. Tourism from China here in British Columbia is worth about $500 million a year to our provincial economy. And we see significant opportunity for that to grow, which supports our hospitality sector and our tourism sector. And then ultimately, at the end of the day, we would love to see China drop the remaining tariffs on areas like seafood that are impacting some of our producers here, and ensuring that we have open lines of communication for businesses that are working in China and vice versa, to make sure that we're able to pursue whatever opportunities we can.
Next, we'll head to the phone lines with Ben O'Hara-Byrne from Global News. Go ahead, Ben.
Thanks. Can you hear me? Apologies, I was just listening away. Premier Eby, thank you for the call, mostly for taking the Q&A. This has been, real estate condo deal has been referred to by many as a bailout. Is it a bailout? Why not? And if it isn't, why not?
Well, I mean, for starters, I think people should understand that the actual amount of money on the table is about $300 million. And to understand the scale of what the condo industry is facing, not just in British Columbia, but also in Ontario, we're talking about billions of dollars. The federal funding, we believe, provides the opportunity for us to buy buildings at below the cost of construction and make them available for people who are currently renting through a rent-to-own program, getting people into the market. It's the proposal being advanced by the developers themselves is that we eliminate the GST on people who already own homes that are seeking to buy another home. And that's just not our priority. That would be a bailout. It would be giving a tax cut to developers in order to avoid them having to take a cut to their profits in selling their buildings. Now, I say that without any judgment to Ontario. They have a different circumstance than we do. But that is not the approach that we chose to take. It's not one that we choose to take. And I understand that that is not something that they're particularly excited about, but that's the reality. The market is going to correct in Vancouver. This program will not assist Vancouver developers because we are not looking at, and the numbers don't work for units in Vancouver. This is for areas outside Vancouver, Fraser Valley, Okanagan, Vancouver Island, where we see opportunities for rent-to-own programs where the numbers could work and where we believe there's an opportunity to buy cheaper than government could ever build.
Follow-up, Ben?
Would it not make more sense to simply let the market do its thing and have those units fall in price naturally and not get involved? And what would it take for you to walk away? Any condo buyer knows they can walk away if the deal doesn't look good.
So the reality is, for many people in the province, especially young people, is that they are renting, and their rent is more than enough to cover a mortgage payment and strata fee, but they don't have the down payment. They don't have access to the bank, mom and dad. They're trying to wonder how they could ever make that work. And so one of our goals as a government has been to recognize this group of people and find ways to help them get into the housing market. Buying a distressed condo development at or below the cost of construction with no profit for the developer, and then making financing available for these buyers through a rent-to-own program addresses that concern in a way that home values going down doesn't. But I'll also note that this is a relatively small program compared with the amount of unsold inventory in British Columbia, and particularly in Vancouver. This program will not apply at all in the city of Vancouver. And so finding these creative ways to give people a chance at home ownership is the continued focus of our government. It's the focus of the speculation and vacancy tax. It was the focus of the Airbnb restrictions. It is the focus here as well. It will not assist developers who have made a bad bet. And it will assist a number of families in the province that are looking to get into housing.
Katie DeRosa, CBC.
Hi, Premier. If BC had the chance to shape the housing program that Ottawa was willing to offer, why not ask the federal government to help chip in for the community housing fund, which nonprofits say were, shovel-ready projects, the plans already done, holes in the ground ready, and they had to stop that because it was cut from the BC budget. So why not put that program at the top of the list as opposed to this empty condo plan?
Yeah, I guess, I struggle a little bit with the idea that we're not building enough social housing. We have 3,000 units that are opening this year in our various housing streams. At some point, I do think we need to make sure that there's opportunities for young people who aren't going to qualify for social housing to be able to get into the housing market. That's what this moment provides us with the opportunity to do. That's what I care about. I want a family that's renting right now to actually have an opportunity that they would never otherwise get to be able to own their home. And if we can buy a place at below the cost of construction and provide that family with financing to get into the home, we're going to do it. And I understand that there are people who say just leave the housing market to go its own way and don't support those families or individuals. I understand it's just a different perspective. The success that we've had in building rental housing, the success that we've had in lowering rents, the success we've had in opening vacant homes to be rented out and in reining in Airbnb, and we stood strong again against the conservative lobbying before FIFA that we needed to kick a bunch of renters out so that we could have more Airbnbs for FIFA. There's been lots of accommodation for FIFA. And so we're going to stand strong for these families, for these individuals, give them a chance to get into housing. And I understand if that's not supported by the development industry. I understand if it's not supported by the Canadian Taxpayer Federation. But at the end of the day, this will not be a net cost to taxpayers. It will give people an opportunity they never had. It will not give profits to developers who are in over their head. In fact, we expect to be buying buildings at below the cost of construction. And so it seems like an opportunity for us that we don't want to pass up.
Follow up.
Yeah, and just a few numbers. You're saying that the government will spend about $300 million, but this morning Carney says it's a $1.4 billion program and Ottawa is chipping in 10%. So can you clarify what is the BC government's contribution to the program? And when you talk about this is not a program for Vancouver, 4,700 or 4,300 of the unabsorbed condos are in Metro Vancouver, about 1,000 others in the whole rest of the province. So how do you get to the 2,200 condo number without focusing on Metro Vancouver?
Well, I didn't say Metro Vancouver, Katie. I said Vancouver. When we look south of the Fraser, there are opportunities. Vancouver Island, the Okanagan, there are opportunities for this. The numbers are the federal government, the Prime Minister is correct. The federal government's put in 10% of $1.4 billion. We put in the second half, which brings it to just short of $300 million. The rest would be financing as we, if let's say we buy a building and we have to hold it for a bit before we sell it on the rent-to-own program, it assists us in holding the building. And so these are the details that we're currently working on in the program. The federal government wanted us to come out early when the Prime Minister was in town to share the details. I think in hindsight, we should have waited and made sure that all the details were available. But regardless, it creates the opportunity for people to get into housing that wouldn't otherwise. It doesn't provide a cent of profit to developers that are in over their head. In fact, we expect developers to be taking losses on many of these initiatives. And ultimately, it's just another way for us to give people a chance to get into housing that wouldn't have otherwise had the chance.
Mary Griffin, Check News.
Thanks so much for taking my call. I've got a question on the Island Deaf and Hard of Hearing Center. Sent your office a letter recently appealing the decision to cut provincial funding for the center. Now, it provides deaf interpreters for government news conferences, and interpreters like Nigel Howard came into the public spotlight when he accompanied Dr. Bonnie Henry during her COVID briefings. But due to a lack of provincial funding, the center is closing its doors on Monday. So my question is, why not fund a nonprofit center? It's been open since 1969 that has assisted thousands of British Columbians since it opened its doors in 1969. And it assists several ministries on a weekly basis by providing deaf interpreters.
Well, first of all, let me say, that the deaf and hard of hearing community needs services, including on Vancouver Island, and we'll make sure that regardless of the decisions made by this organization, that those services will be provided. We provided $200,000 in funding to this organization. I understand there's multiple streams of funding, not exclusively from government. And we'll work with the organization to understand what's underlining their financial crisis in this particular moment. But the idea that the government isn't funding this organization is not correct. In fact, we're funding it to the tune of $200,000. And our team will certainly be reaching out to them. But I just want to reassure people there are organizations that provide these services, and we'll ensure that the services continue to be available.
Follow up, Mary?
A follow-up. They have the Sounds of Change, which assists hundreds and hundreds of people with refurbished hearing aids. That program is gone, and they've assisted 1,300 people over the years. But just to switch gears for a colleague, Minister Boyle sent a letter to the municipalities of both Victoria and Saanich saying a vote on amalgamation on their false ballot is not going to be binding, citing that more information is needed. Just wondering why the province is taking this approach after there was a citizens' assembly that did a full report on this, and just wondering what more needs to be done in order for this to become a binding referendum, as it's been something that's worked on for years, if not decades.
I think it's safe to say that the provincial government will take any recommendation from the referendum vote seriously and engage with the local governments on the will of the people as expressed through the vote. The decision about whether or not it is legally binding and that must be followed through, I think also needs to be tempered a little bit with sometimes details come out as we work through amalgamation discussions that cause some people to have second thoughts as we move forward. So creating the space for the community to deliver their wishes about where they would like things to go, for us to engage in good faith with the local governments if they decide to move ahead with amalgamation, I think is the right path. And that ensures that everyone goes in eyes open to the implications ultimately of where we end up.
Next, we'll head to Wolfgang Deppner with the Canadian Press. Go ahead, Wolfgang.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon, Premier. Thank you for taking my question. Back to the condo buyout. The federal government claims that this buyout will be at a discount to market prices. How is that even possible, no matter what price the government and developers agree on, when by definition these condos would otherwise be unsold?
Well, it's possible in a couple of ways, Wolf. One is the ability to buy more than one unit at a time. Creates the possibility for us to purchase these at lower than cost. There are also buildings that are in various stages of bankruptcy protection. Creates the opportunity for government to attend and to buy in a way that individual consumers wouldn't be able to. The sounding that we did in the early days to understand whether this would actually be a possibility. The numbers that we got back were consistent with us being able to run a more affordable rent-to-own program for people who would otherwise not be able to get in the market, and would also ensure that there was no profit, no additional money going to developers. In fact, we believe that we will be able to buy many units below the cost of construction given the current market. So it's an opportunity for us to get a bunch of people owning their homes that wouldn't have otherwise had it at the cost of certainly some developers without question. But we think it's an opportunity worth having a look at.
Follow up, Wolfgang?
Yes, I do. Thank you. I want to just touch on this issue of the price, buying these units at a price below the cost of construction. Can you sort of clarify how that goalpost has emerged? And just to build on Katie's question, again, what's the point of this program if the community with arguably the biggest housing issues is not subject to it?
Well, I guess, Wolf, we're building 3,000 units of social housing. So, a lot of various kinds, deep need housing, rent geared to income, affordable housing. There are a group of people that have been systematically underserved in the current housing market, and it's people who can afford to pay a decent level of rent, but they just can't come up with a down payment to be able to enter into the housing market. And so we think a rent-to-own program could be quite successful the market as it stands gives us an opportunity to buy units and make them available in this way to these buyers. And so, I think the goal here for us is don't let a good opportunity go to waste. These are units where we believe that in many cases we'll be able to buy them below the cost of construction. At a minimum, we'll ensure that there is no profit going to the developers. And these are units that are currently empty and that we can give people a path to home ownership on. We know that the private sector is out there looking at these kinds of deals already. We think that there's an opportunity to do this for people instead of for private business, and that's what we're going to take a shot at. If we crunch the numbers and bring it forward and people don't like it, then that's fine. But I would like the opportunity to be able to bring forward the program, have the housing minister present it, so you can see what we're doing, and ensure that we don't want to take this opportunity to get people into housing that this market provides us right now.
Thank you very much, everyone. That concludes today's event.
Thank you.